So, Bloodstained has finally released, but is it worth it? This video isn't a review, even though I will be looking over aspects of the game. It's more of a case of concerning everything surrounding the game, from the concept to its creation, to its process and fan feedback. Is purchasing Bloodstained in your best interest? Even though I know a lot of people know the story concerning this game, here's a recap. Konami was just destroying itself, treating their employees like shit. So many industry legends left or got fired, one of those being Koji Igarashi, the pioneer of the Castlevania side of the Metroidvania style of games. In March 2014, Igarashi opted to leave Konami, stating concern for his continued employment and differences in the directions they wanted to take the company. Igarashi also stated that he had received a large number of requests from fans to continue to develop Castlevania games, giving him another reason to leave Konami and aim to start his own studio to develop these fan-requested games, including a Metroidvania-style game with similar themes to Castlevania. People have been wanting a Metroidvania-style game again, and God knows that Konami wouldn't do it, so Iga stepped in and started a Kickstarter. Prior to this, though, he saw the success of the Kickstarter for Mighty Disappointment 9, which inspired him and made him realize that this could be a similar route to obtain funding for a new game. The Kickstarter was launched on May 11th, 2015. The game succeeded in its base goal within 4 hours of going live, and reached $1 million within the first day. If there's one thing I can say about all these spiritual successor games is that they can make a lot of money fast. Various stretch goals were introduced and met, including obtaining David Hayter as the voice of G-Bell for the game, and Robert Belgrade, the voice of Alucard in Symphony of the Night, to have a voice role as well. The Bloodstained Kickstarter was successfully funded with more than $5.5 million in pledges, and as of June 2015, the highest value video game Kickstarter project. However, about 2 months afterwards, the Kickstarter for Shenmue 3 broke Bloodstained's record, raising over $6.3 million in a similar period as Bloodstained. A single-level demonstration of Bloodstained was made available to play for attendees at E3 2016, and was released to the Kickstarter backers a week later. Reception was positive. The game, while 2.5D, looked really close to the artwork. It looked gorgeous, and it seemed to play just like everyone wanted. It also continued the tradition of weird boss design. Holy tit! Unfortunately, Iga announced that the game will be delayed until 2018. We did get a gameplay trailer and more footage from E3 2017, but still no word on a concrete release date yet. In early April of 2018, some of the other voice actors were announced, with the likes of Ray Chase, Ben Diskin, Fred Tatasciore, Kali Walgren, and more. On May 11th, 2018, a spin-off game was announced titled Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon. Okay, so, why is the spin-off coming out before the main game? It's a prequel, so I guess it makes sense for it to be before and to give people a taste of the Bloodstained world and characters before the main game and to please fans of Castlevania that don't like the Metroidvania style. But I feel like it should have been an unlockable for the main game or something. I'm just falling over myself with this. Whatever. Anyway, it is a more traditional 8-bit game, and if Ritual of the Night is a spiritual successor to Symphony of the Night, Curse of the Moon is a spiritual successor to classic Castlevanias of old. A graphical style that evokes the first game, character switching mechanics similar to Castlevania 3, and background and level design kind of similar to Rondo of Blood. So it is the old games in the old style that we don't get from Castlevania anymore. The game also looks really good, except the boss sprites. They're not bad, but the quality is too good in comparison to the other sprites in the game, so it clashes a bit. Now, while I myself have not played it, I've heard that it is very good, and that it is the classic Castlevania kind of game that people have been wanting for a long time. Not being limited to tying into the plot of the main game helps to make this game unique as well. In August of 2018, it was announced that the Vita version of Ritual of the Night is cancelled, and the game is now to be released in 2019, stating that they wanted to make a better quality game from the feedback given from the demo. And boy did they! From the trailer announcing the game's release date, they showed off the graphical improvements, and yeah, they definitely improved the game significantly. They took the feedback to heart, I'll give them that. Really quick, something that I've noticed is how forgiving a lot of people are towards these types of games. A lot of people were originally forgiving towards Mighty No. 9 until the marketing insulted its fanbase, and a lot of people were forgiving towards Yooka-Laylee until the game came out. People are forgiving a lot about this game too, but we'll have to wait and see if this one breaks the trend. So, after a long wait, I've finally played the game. So, how is it? It's Alright. It's the best of the three, but still has its own issues. The story has interesting aspects to it, but it is still more or less a basic plot to just have a plot to move things along, as every plot is. Okay, that sounded stupid, but you get my point. It begins with a narration, stating that people feared the Industrial Revolution and what it could do and how it could change people. That is honestly a really interesting setup and a nice change of pace from medieval Europe like a lot of Gothic games tend to do. Some alchemists, fearing that technology would overtake magic, decide to create beings out of demonic power, called shardbinders, but in doing so open the world up to the demons. Wait, what? The hell kind of leap in logic is that? Sir, people are losing faith in magic. What shall we do to get them back on our side? Use demonic power. You mean we should call upon the power of God and have angels come down and tell the common folk that industrialism isn't the right way? Nope. Demons. Satan will save us, mate. Did I misinterpret this? Did it instead mean that demons came out of nowhere and shardbinders were created using said demons, only it created an easier way for demons to come to Earth? Because both interpretations seem stupid. Why not just have it so that demons manage to come to Earth, shardbinders are made as some sort of super soldier program used to kill demons, and show how magic is still superior to this new wave of technological revolution, but it goes wrong and only 2 people survive the process, and because those 2 survive, they're experimented on endlessly to make sure they're perfected, which feeds more into Jeebel's motivations, and why am I putting more effort into this than I should be? Just a minute in, and I'm already confused. Anyway, a demonic castle is summoned by Jeebel, and our protagonist Miriam and her alchemist friend Johannes go and try to stop the new demon infestation. So, besides a weird leap in logic in the universe, the story stays minimal, and when it does present itself, it has some good ideas and implications and has some genuinely interesting world-building moments and lore. That being said, the main plot is pretty basic and doesn't really do anything else with its ideas, going for more of your average Castlevania story. It's just a basic story overall, though that's not necessarily a bad thing in this case. The graphics are pretty decent, the cel-shading looks nice, and I feel even though the game goes for a gothic style, the cartoony graphics still work. If it was a more realistic shader, it wouldn't look nearly as good. Character models look great, environments are varied and look great as well, but the animations vary. Some look great, a lot looks stiff, especially in the cutscenes. The enemy and boss designs vary, but on the whole they are still good and some bosses do look really cool. Well, they're not as cartoonishly huge, but they're still big and I am really happy about that. The graphics do take a hit on less powerful consoles, but the game still looks alright. It's just the textures that are low quality. But overall, the game looks good visually. There is a lot to the gameplay, so lightning round, let's go. The basic gameplay is not so different from other Metroidvanias. You gather a variety of weapons and spells that make up your core combat system. Weapons range from swords to spears to whips to even boots for kicking. Spells vary in their uses, but some are offensive and some are defensive, and some are used solely for environmental travel. Of course, it is also an RPG, so stats and strengths and weaknesses are also factors, as well as leveling up. The main point of the game is to go throughout the castle, filling out the map as you go. You also cannot progress in certain areas until you get the right item or ability, which results in a lot of backtracking and finding out what you need to progress. The unique mechanics of this game come in the form of the shards. Shards are how you acquire magic and buffs, but is also how you get permanent abilities, like a double jump. You can upgrade shards as well. You can also sell shards should you need to. There's a lot more to the gameplay that I haven't mentioned, but these are just the basics. The gameplay is good and fun, but it doesn't go out of its way to innovate. It plays it safe, so it works, but it could be a little more. But I will say that the hitboxes need some work, as I cannot tell if the hitboxes are way too small or way too big, but it is infuriating at times. Plus, I get exploration and discovery is a huge part of the game, but there are 2 specific moments where it's too vague how to progress, and unless you spend hours upon hours trying to figure it out on your own, looking it up is the only option, and I hate that this is the case. I get you need to figure it out, but with the 2 specific moments I'm talking about, there aren't even hints. But the gameplay is still fun. when bosses aren't being cheap as hell. Normally, this is where I say whether or not it is worth it. But there's one important thing I have to bring up before that, which is the frequent technical issues this game has. This game has tons of bugs that can range from minor inconveniences to huge issues. In my playthrough, I had random crashes when talking to people, glitching enemies, animations showing that I'm still alive when I die, completely random frame rate drops, and in one case glitching out of world, but not phasing through like most examples. Basically, save very often. I mean it. Save 3 times in a row if you have to. Overdo it, because you never know what can happen. Now, I do have way more to say about this game, but this is not a review. The point of this video is to say whether or not it is worth it to buy this game. So, with all this said, is Bloodstained worth it? Yes. Kind of. The story is serviceable, the graphics are serviceable, and the gameplay is serviceable. It's just a pretty average game, but in comparison to the other two, it is leagues better. So yeah, I guess it's worth it to an extent, as long as you can stomach rampant technical issues.